Hello, class. This is a presentation from the Asignature International Negotiation and Cross-Cultural Protocols from the MBA program from the EAN Universidad. We are Felipe Ortosgoitia Leal, Ariel Antonio Rey Thomas, and Patricia Pachon as integrate and authors from this presentation, and we're going to talk about how could the common protocols for intercultural negotiation be used properly. And we start because currently we live in a globalized world where the generalized opening of good and capital markets, the increasing privatization of economic sectors, the rise of multinational companies, competition and access to international markets, as well as cultural exchange, they are the order of the day in negotiations and business relationships. When we talk about business and international level, it will be possible to ask ourselves, it is convenient for companies to have a protocol to start an international negotiation? Well, the aspects and cultural custom of countries, they're very important because they will be the benefits of us and help us achieve our business and commercial purpose. When the definition of the protocol in multicultural management within each organization, they can manifest themselves in a negative image of the company and especially reflects little professionalism, being able to cause the rupture of international commercial relations and be reflected in this result of the same due to misunderstanding or for desirable and avoidable compromise situation. Some authors mention aspects and characteristics in an international negotiation can include an exchange of business cards, the correct use of usual schedule in each country, courtesy rules, negotiation techniques or strategies, verbal communications, customs or rituals, non-verbal communications, the protocol on the table, and of course the institutional of corporate gift. There are two different orientations regarding the measurements of time in a negotiation around the world. Monophonic and polychronic monochronic approach to time are linear, sequentially, and involve focusing on things on time. These approaches are more common in cultures with Europe and American influence. The Japanese also tends towards in this time management. The polychronic orientation at times involves the simultaneous occurrence of many things and the participation of many people. The time it takes to complete the interaction is elastic and more important than any program. This orientation is more common in Mediterranean and Latin cultures, including France, Italy, Greece, and Mexico, as well as some Eastern and African cultures. We can then highlight some characteristics of each of them. The negotiators of polychronic cultures tend to, first, start and end meetings on flexible times. Take breaks when it seems appropriate. Be comfortable with a high flow of information. Expect to read the thoughts and minds of others. Sometimes take overlaps. See start time as flexible and do not take delays personally. And on the other hand, we have the negotiators of the monochronic cultures to tend to prefer beginning and endings, rest hours, deal with one agenda, eat at a time, rely on specific details and explicit communication. We prefer in speak in sequences. See the delay as a devaluation or evidence of disrespect.
Space orientation. Space orientation is different between controlling to the wind territory, comfort personal distance, or lack of comfort physical control and expectation about where the out control will take place. In the country of North Europe, personal space is much larger than in countries of South Europe. For a German or Swedes, personal, for example, Italians and Greeks, get too close. A USA level manual is based this on the personal space. Will you make some? Do you stay too close? Remember the expression of Ariel. Stay out of my face. Uncomfortable closeness is very annoying for the other personal. So keep your physical distance, or you will have to the wave from you. A minimum of the 2 feet away from the two other personnel we do it. In Central cultures includes Mediterranean, Arab, and Latin American countries. They more tactile and allow more contact. Central cultures allow control between genders include an unistate with the control between people of the same sex and less acceptable. Nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is close and related to the notion of space. Within cultural states, it has been observed that Japanese negotiators use silence as an element of use. American is moderate amount and Brazil a mouse note. Physical contact can transmit close in context and the crude offense in others. For example, in Mexico, an ago can levels communicate developed obstructing relationships. With the Germans, negotiation may express hunger has enabled close intimates. Looking is voice in face or looking direct into face of negotiations. Counterpart is more common in Brazil than in United States and even more infrequent in Japan. The power distance. Grief often the social cycles when the contact is reached in the multinational corporations is how should be applied negotiations is used with analysis in the measure of natural cultures difference. The uses is the difference in power describe notations between cultures where there is great distance for of power and people are considered superior to others because of their social condition, great race, age, education, birth, personal achievements, family story, or other factors. Cultures with the little powers understand the ancient quality between people and the focus more is on the one state for the negotiation, that is attribution states. In general, the more unequal is well distributed, the great the distance of powers in any nation every month. The culture according often when the distance on power includes Arabic countries, Guatemala, Malaysia, the Philippines, Mexico, Indonesia, and India. Negotiators is country they feel comfortable with structures, clear anatomy figures, and ring the power discreetly. In terminus country, the distance of Austria, Denmark, Israel, New Zealand, Ireland, Sweden, Normandy, Finlandia, Switzerland, Great Britain, and Germany. Negotiation these countries tend to feel conformant with democratic structure, organization in chairs, chair tournament. The ring is power only limited circumstances and the limiting purpose.
After reviewing some important protocols useful in negotiations, I'm going to talk about a real case of negotiation and some recommendations. Nepal-India water negotiations. Fast facts. India is 40 times larger geographically than Nepal. India wants to meet its increasing electrical power needs. Nepal is one of the poorest nations in the world and is economically linked to India because of its geographic situation. Nepal's water wealth is enormous, capable of producing 30 gigawatts of hydroelectric power to meet India needs. The investment required for this type of hydroelectric projects exceeds the economic capacity of Nepal. Here is some illustration of the project Karnali, the river systems between Nepal and India. Previous negotiations on complete projects between India and Nepal in the mid-1960s resulted in India retaining control over the headwaters located in Nepal. Karnali project could produce a potential output of 10.8 gigawatts. Politicians of Nepal came under strong pressure to develop these water resources. A newly elected government in Nepal proclaimed it had come to an understanding with India on a number of water resource issues. This causes disgust amongst the opposition parties and the general public. Some important considerations. Nepal's government changed from an absolute monarchy into a combined constitutional monarchy and parliamentary democracy during the negotiations and as a consequence of it. The new government elaborated a new order, Article 126, which states that any sharing of water resources will require an approval of 2/3 majority in parliament. Negotiations were ongoing and the dispute and differences were finally resolved on 1996 when treaty was signed between both countries. Any proposals will now have to please the government, opposition parties, or a majority segment of the population. This forced India to restructure its negotiating framework. Main issues and challenge. Feasibility studies on the Karnali project failed to take into account the impact on financial and sociological on Nepal. During negotiations, India denied or gave lip service to issues surrounding irrigation and flood control. India demanded that they would only be prepared to pay for the cost of the energy and not for the cost of peaking power, which means most of the cost will be transferred to Nepal. Nepal demands equal sharing of water. Nepal demands it wants to link the cost of electricity to the cost of alternative thermal energy to enhance its profits. According to Hofstede, here is a country comparison. Power distance. Both countries achieve higher scores, meaning that are hierarchical societies. People accept a hierarchical order in which everybody has a place and which needs no further justification. Individualism. Nepal with a low score indicates that it's considered a collective society. This is evidenced in a close long-term commitment to the member group, be that a family, extended family, or extended relationships. On the other hand, India, with an intermediate score, have a society with both collectivistic and individualist traits. Masculinity. Nepal, with a low score, is considered a feminine society. Conflicts are resolved by compromise and negotiation. People value equality. On the other side, India is considered a masculine society, focused on success and achievements, validated by material gains. Finally, uncertainty avoidance. Both countries has a medium-low preference for avoiding uncertainty. People are fairly relaxed and not averse to taking risk. Aggression and emotions are not shown much in these societies. Some adequate strategy and final thoughts. The win-win rule was not taken into account, being a fundamental aspect in any negotiation, understanding the interest of the parties. Maintaining relations is a fundamental aspect. Finally, India understood the wishes of Nepal and the signing of the treaty was achieved with mutual benefit. Establish and understand the importance of a clear channel of communication is vital. India rejects Nepal conditions and thugs, thus complicating the negotiations. Understanding time as a precious tool, sometimes by pushing the negotiation process, could end in a fail. A detailed and specific agreement may help in order to respect and meet what both sides want. Culturally understanding the counterpart is fundamental. India dismissed the wishes and objectives of Nepal, which complicated the negotiation and forced India to modify and give in to its pretensions to achieve a final agreement. It is important to understand the direct effects on society. India did not take into account the economic and social aspect of the population of Nepal, with a high degree of femininity, where equity and equality are valued. Thank you for your attention.